Hello, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay. We had some technical issues, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you so much for joining today's webinar, Stayntouch Product Enhancements, version 5.76, split charges equally, add-on activity log, and more, presented by Stayntouch implementation consultant, Julia Josephson. I'm your host, Erin Fisher, the content writer here at Stayntouch. Today's presentation will cover how you can get the most out of Stayntouch PMS version 5.76 product release. In this webinar, we will cover the following enhancements: daily production by rate report and financial transactions revenue reports, now exportable to PDF, external reference added to the arrival, departure, in-house guests, and reservations by user reports, routing information added to arrival, departure, and in-house guest reports, room release date, hold status, and rate fields locked for past groups, housekeeping start and finish time added to the room activity log, add-on activity log, infants on Austrian registration card, Stayntouch Connect API enhancements, enhanced multilingual support for Stayntouch IBE, and finally, split charges equally routing. We will have a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation, and we will answer them in the order they are received at the end. And that's all I have for right now. Julia, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great, thank you, Erin, and thank you for your patience, everybody. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So the first few enhancements are regarding reporting, as Erin mentioned. The first two of those are related to scheduled reports. So I'm going to navigate to the main menu icon, reports, and schedule a report / export. Oh, and I got logged out. But here we go. All right. So when I take a look at my scheduled reports, I can either edit or add new schedules. And these ones for daily production by rate and financial transactions revenue report, when I go to set them up or to edit the schedule parameters, here when I come to the file format under schedule parameters, I now have the option to select PDF, where previously it was only CSV. And that's the case for the financial transaction revenue report as well. This can now be scheduled in PDF format. One important note is that for the daily production by rate version, the time period must be yesterday for PDF to appear. So if I were to try to schedule this for the last 30 days, I wouldn't have a PDF option. The next report enhancement is one that I am very excited about. This is applicable both for the scheduled versions, but also the ad hoc versions of the arrivals, departures, and in-house guest reports. It's actually two enhancements that I'll show you here, and it's for all three of those reports. Again, both the ad hoc and the scheduled versions. When I go to run an arrivals report, or again, in-house or departure, I have this options drop-down menu here that many of you might already be familiar with. I already like to use this to show guest notes, reservation notes, actions, and guests, accompanying guest names on my arrival reports. But now we have another two sets of options that I'm really excited about. The first is include external reference, which is going to include any external reference like confirmation numbers from your booking engine, from your third parties, etc. And then we also have an option called include routing info, which is going to show you the routing that is set up on a reservation if it is set up. So when I run this report and I go to view it, we can look at one I ran earlier. We can see I've got the stuff that I'm used to seeing on my arrivals report, but then I've now also got this external references section. You can see here, I've got this one for Expedia. And the external references portion is really going to be used by properties that are looking to cross-reference their OTA confirmation numbers that have come through with OTA bookings. And if there is no external reference number, that field will simply be blank. Then again, the other enhancement is the ability to display routing info. So on this reservation, there is no routing info, so nothing displays. But here, room and tax is routed to Expedia. And on this one, for Maya Trainer, room tax and pet fee is the billing group that I've selected, but then I also selected some additional charge codes in the routing. So it says the routing group or the billing group that I've selected, as well as one or more charge codes. So it's going to display the entity for all reservations with routing that it's routing to. So again, the entity here is Expedia VVC Collect. That's that travel agent associated with the reservation. It could be accompanying guest or the primary guest. And then it's going to display one or more charge codes. If you've selected billing information via charge codes, it's going to display the billing groups if you have selected billing groups. The next enhancement is related to past groups. If I pulled up a group here that the arrival date and the end date, including the shoulder dates, are in the past. And now when a group's checkout date has passed, the following conditions will apply. The room release date will be grayed out and you can no longer change it, so it's going to be read only. Same as the hold status. And the rate selection will also not be selectable, and it will be just the group's last rate that was selected, and it again will be read only. The next enhancement is related to housekeeping, and I've got another window here. In this window, I'm logged in as a housekeeping user, so as a user that has the user role floor and maintenance staff assigned, and I have tasks assigned to me to clean rooms today. And when I come into the room, I click start. And then when I finish cleaning it, I hit done. And this already existed, right? But the piece that's been enhanced is now on the log for the room. It will note that the work task was started and the work task was finished at whatever times they were. And that's going to be always recorded as the username of the person that was completing the action, the date and time that the action happened. The action, again, the new ones are work task started and work task finished, the work type that was being worked on, the current front office status, and then the room status. So when I started the room, it was dirty. When I marked it as done, it was marked as clean, and that's all recorded here for you to review at a later time. The next example, or the next enhancement is related to add-ons for, we now have an activity log section in add-ons. So to look at those, I'm going to go into the back end, into settings, and then to rates and add-ons. And if we pull up one, I know I edited resort fee yesterday. So I'm gonna pull up this one. And yesterday I added a date range here. So I changed the price for a certain date range. And you can see here now at the bottom of the add-on, there's this section called activity log. This wasn't here before. And now it will record any actions that are made on the add-on, so that you have a record of what was changed and when it was changed and who it was changed by. The next enhancement is specific to properties in Austria, and I have just a screenshot to show you what this looks like. Austrian registration cards, which have a slightly different registration card to be compliant with what's required there. Now there will no longer be any more than 4 children on the registration card. The names and the birth dates of children and infants will be filled in when you print the registration card if they're already applied to the reservation. And if they aren't filled in at the reservation level, these sections will be blank so that a guest could write in the information. Our next few enhancements are related to API integrations and enhancements that have been made to that. So you can now create custom groups with our Connect APIs without needing to attach inventories or room rates. The original workflow where room rates and inventories are sent as part of the post groups API call is also still supported. So this is just an enhancement. We also made an enhancement to the existing API that will allow users to add inventories and room rates to existing custom groups, which was something we did not support before. And we will no longer require our third-party vendors that we integrate with to send all existing room types as part of the post groups call in order to support later modifications. And please note, always send the corresponding room type ID and in room rates as well as inventories objects, as the two objects go hand in hand together. Lastly, for API, any vendors that use availability APIs will now receive a new tourist tax object in the response. As a note, not all hotels use tourist tax, and so if they're not in use, the API response will return tourist tax with a 0 value. Our next enhancements, I again don't have a great way to show you these, but our Stayntouch IBE, which is a separate product we offer from the PMS, we now support multilingual confirmation and login verification emails. And this can be set up by our customer support team if you are using our IBE and want to enable this. Our final enhancement is one that we are really excited and proud of, and it's currently in pilot. If you're interested in piloting it with us and sharing your feedback before it goes to general release early next year, please let us know. We'd be happy to have other hotels talk to us about being interested in joining the pilot. And again, we will plan to release this early next year for general release. The feature is called Split Charges Equally via Routing. And the concept is that I can split charges equally amongst some or all of the guests associated with the reservation. And this is primarily going to be used when, say, a group of 4 friends in a room want to split their charges equally and they each want to pay with their own credit card. And previously we had a function, or we still have a function called split 50-50, where you could split it between 2 entities really easily. But if you wanted to split it between more than 2 entities, it was a bit more of a manual process that you'd have to do after the charge is posted to truly do it correctly. And with this feature, you can now automate that and set it up prior to the stay and prior to the charges running, rather than waiting until, say, the morning of departure to fix the billing. So when this feature is made active by our support team, it will replace the original 50% routing instruction that you guys are familiar with in the bill and charges and billing information screen. And if you wish to set up a 50% routing instruction, splitting it between 2 people, you still certainly can. And by splitting the charge equally, it will split the charges amongst the selected entities. So if I split it between 2, it's going to split 50-50. If I split it between 3, it's going to split it between 33.33%. 4 entities will split, 25%, and so on. So to split charges equally among entities, we need to first enable the feature, which I have in this demo hotel. And then I need to ensure that there are accompanying guests attached to the reservation, which I can do up here under guests. I have 3 guests on this reservation, and I have already attached entities, meaning additional guest names here. I have the primary guest is my name, Julia Josephson, and then I have a second and a third guest named Alexa Weaver and Kelsey Rowe. If I didn't have them, I could add them here. And then I need to navigate to the bill and charges screen and to bill routing. Once here, I'm going to click on the green Add Routes button. And then when adding the routing instruction, if I wish to split the charges equally, I simply select Split Charges Between Guests in this checkbox here. And it's going to select all of the guests by default. I can unselect them if I want to, if I don't want to split charges with certain guests. And as a note, you can't split between like a guest and a company or travel agent. So it's only going to be splitting between the primary guest and accompanying guests. If I only select one entity, I won't be able to split charges equally, so that purple button disappears. But once I reselect a second and third one, split charges equally does appear. And then I can say, I do want to go ahead and press that button to split charges equally. And from here, I can set this up. So I can set a date range for the routing if I want to, if it's a multi-night reservation, or if the routing only applies for a certain night range. So maybe they're only splitting the night of the 22nd. I could select the 22nd to the 22nd, and then this routing would only apply to the 22nd. But of course, I can have it apply to the entire stay. And then I need to select either the billing group or billing groups or charge codes that I want the charges to be split. So if they're going to split room and tax, that's great. But then I need to remember that if I only select room and tax, when I post restaurant charges, those aren't going to split equally. and the primary guest is going to ultimately end up, showing as responsible for those, unless we manually split them later. So I want to make sure that I've spoken with the guest and have a good understanding of what they've agreed to split between them. And again, I can select a billing group, but I can also come and select charge code. So maybe it was room and tax and resort fee, which I don't have a billing group here for that. So I've selected room and tax, and then I'm going to come to charge codes and I'll select resort fee. And then I can go ahead and save that route, or from here, I can also go ahead and add payment methods for each of these guests, which will then set the payment on their appropriate bill windows. If I don't have the payment methods yet, I simply can leave that blank. And now here I can save route, and it takes just a moment. What it's ultimately doing on the back end is it's setting this up to split for when, again, the future charges post for room, tax, and resort fee. And then it's also creating bill windows for each of the guests that we're splitting between. So I have bill 1, which is always there by default, and it's going to create a bill number 2, bill number 3, and bill number 4 for each of these entities. And as a note, if I, I will still have bill 1 open. So again, if restaurant charges post, because I didn't route those, the restaurant charges are going to post to bill 1, where I would assume the primary guest is responsible. You also can have other routing instructions set up. Just be aware of the charges that are being routed, as billing groups won't be available if they're part of another routing instruction for the reservation. And now that I've got this set up, we can see that it's saying it's going to split these charges equally. I could delete it. I also could edit it by simply clicking there, and I could edit the entities. Like maybe if I thought all 3 were going to split, but it's only going to be 2, I could come back here and I could, remove one if I want to. And again, if I wanted to delete it, I would simply hit that red X button. And once the routing is set up and saved, we are back on the guest bill screen. And like I said before, we have a bill for each of the entities selected to be part of the split route. So I have first, second, and third. And so again, essentially bill number 1 will not be part of the split route. Any charges that aren't routed will live there. If you have split and routed all charges, then ultimately this will stay blank. And the split equally formula will be applied to the entire charge, including taxes. The detailed breakdown of the charges will be visible from the journal, which is accessible via the main menu and financials. And once charges are posted to the bills cannot be deleted and will remain attached to the entities. However, if you don't want to split charges equally anymore, you can go to billing information and delete that routing instruction. But transactions that have already posted will not be changed by deleting the routing instruction. And at this time, this feature, while it's in pilot, and then as we expect it to go into general release soon, it's currently only available for individual reservations. It's currently not available for groups or allotments to set at the group or allotment level. But if you have reservations that are part of group blocks, you could certainly go into those individual reservations and set up this routing. And just to give you a quick demo of how it works, when I'm going to post a room charge, and I'm going to post it as $300 plus tax. And you can see here that didn't post on bill 1. It automatically routed to bill 2, 3, and 4. And it posted $100 because it was split equally, right? So it's 300 divided by 3 equals $100 plus the taxes, which again were split equally. Again, this is in pilot right now. So if you think your hotel would benefit from this, and if you're interested in participating in the pilot and providing us feedback and helping us find anything that can be improved with it, let us know. If not, keep an eye out for the general release of this feature early next year in future release notes, and let us know that you'd like us to turn it on when it is released. And that's all for me. I will send it back to you, Erin.
Awesome, thanks so much. I'd now like to turn over the floor for questions. Remember, you can submit questions through the question box in the middle of the control panel. So I don't see any questions yet, but I'll give everyone a few seconds to enter those. All right, since I'm not seeing any questions, I'd like to take to the floor to offer some final thoughts. So today we reviewed the following enhancements: daily production by rate report and financial transactions revenue reports, exportable to PDF, external reference added to the arrival, departure, in-house guests, and reservations by user reports, routing information added to arrival, departure, and in-house guest reports, room release date, hold status, and rate fields locked for past groups, housekeeping start and finish times added to the room activity log, add-on activity log, infants on the Austrian registration card, Stayntouch Connect API enhancements, enhanced multilingual support for Stayntouch IBE, and finally, split charges equally routing. With that, I'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you all so much for coming, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to email me at erin.fisher@stayntouch.com. Thanks again.